we produce 1 unit per minute for most of our manufacturing plants. So when you think about production time and disasters or people being absent, anything that would affect production by the minute is impactful to our production. So it's extremely important that we keep that moving.
You're listening to the Employee Safety Podcast from Alert Media, a podcast for professionals responsible for the safety and well-being of their employees. Each episode features an interview with a leader in employee safety to discuss how to protect your employees from a wide array of threats, from severe weather to a global pandemic. Let's get into the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Employee Safety Podcast, where we discuss insights and ideas for how to protect your most valuable asset, your people. I'm your host, Peter Steinfeld, and I'm joined today by Hannah Kinnett, who's responsible for emergency management and business resiliency at Toyota Motor North America. Hannah, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Peter, I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. Thanks again for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So glad to hear it. And thank you for taking time. I know you're busy. I am really excited to dig into our main topic and learn how Toyota accelerates both emergency and incident response times. But before we begin, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about your role at Toyota?
Absolutely. So my overarching organization within Toyota is called Global Security. So that's kind of the big sort of pillar there. But within that organization is our emergency management and business resiliency team, which is the team that I'm specifically part of. So of course, we do work closely with the other, teams within Global Security, such as the technology team and a few others. However, our immediate team is really rather small. So I'm actually one of 5 who are directly involved with emergency management and business resiliency. And more specifically, as far as myself goes, my title and my role within the team is as the technology specialist. So this pretty much puts me in charge of a few of our main systems that we use to prepare for, respond to, recover from any sort of disaster, as well as business disruptions. So mass communication through Alert Media is one of them, and then some weather alerts through our partner AccuWeather is another one. So those are sort of 2 of the largest ones that I'm in charge of. There's a few smaller ones as well. But both of those systems cover North America for us. So that will consist of about 50 locations, 15 of those being manufacturing plants, and that will total just under about 80,000 people for those 2 systems covering that. Now, the cool thing about Alert Media with our mass communication system is that that system actually does also cover a few of our international locations. And so that's part of our finance group that we support through partnership as well with Alert Media and mass communication.
So you're responsible for quite a few people.
Just a few. Just a few.
Okay. Well, can you give us a bit more detail, I guess at a high level, of how that team operates?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said before, emergency management and business resiliency, that team specifically is only 5 people. So they do our fire suppression systems, alarm systems, and they are also more of the emergency management, sort of boots on the ground at the manufacturing plants. They do the emergency preparedness plans as well as fire. So, and then there's me. So most of what I do within my system specifically is like access control. So I oversee who gets access, what level of access, and then we perform the trainings throughout the year and go over best practices and things like that.
What are the types of emergencies that are top of mind for you and the others in your manufacturing plants and all the other facilities on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, of course. So we have a list of top emergencies, I would say, for the manufacturing plant specifically. And those are generally split into a level 1, 2, or 3 based on the severity of the incident. But these emergencies could be fire, material release, medical response, utility disruption, and weather, to name a few. I would say those are probably our top emergencies that we sort of see on a day-to-day basis. Now, of course, those aren't the only ones that threaten our facilities, manufacturing or non-manufacturing, but they are the most common. Also, I want to mention here business disruptions, because we do, obviously handle the emergencies, disasters, but business disruptions is something that we definitely would see on a more frequent basis, whether it be, certain entrances to the facility being blocked off, telling people to go in a different way, or before a shift, if there's certain people, this is especially important for manufacturing, if there's somebody that's not going to be present that day, it's sort of like a roll call type thing that we can notify, hey, this person's going to be out. That way there prior to the shift, they can have somebody stand place for that person in the production line. That way there, the actual production line's not affected by somebody not being there that day, if that makes sense. So business disruptions is something I really like to mention when it comes to like, what are the top sort of focuses we have? Because while they're not necessarily emergencies or disasters, they're definitely something that we see on a more frequent basis. And everything from business disruptions disruption to emergency is extremely important because, I have a little statistic here that says we produce 1 unit per minute for most of our manufacturing plants. That's an average. Some of our manufacturing plants will go up to 3 minutes to produce 1 unit. So anywhere between 1 unit for every 1 to 3 minutes. So when you think about that and you think about production time and disasters or, people being absent, anything that would affect production by the minute is impactful to our production. So it's extremely important that we obviously, keep that moving.
Yeah, without a doubt. Oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. Well, when you step back and just kind of think about keeping tabs on all the imminent threats out there that could impact Toyota's ability to operate, what are the primary challenges that you and your team face in ensuring the right locations have the most accurate and relevant info about those threats?
That's a really good question. I would say one of our biggest struggles that we face is with personal contact information. So personal contact data has to be opted in by a team member. So if somebody doesn't provide that information, we don't have it, which pretty much just creates a very narrow stream of being able to reach them because it makes us, rely on only whatever information we have for them, which would be work contact information. So that is an issue. That's something that we've, been working with. We've been working with your team, especially on getting some new ways on getting personal contact information in the system, which has been, really helpful. And we're hoping to improve that. But I would say as far as the teams specifically go, that are sending notifications, those people, we call them either admins or dispatchers. We want to make sure that they stay trained in the system. That's kind of our primary, not really struggle, but focus as far as, preventing struggles is making sure that they are trained in the system frequently. We do a monthly user training where we cover at least one topic within the system monthly, whether it be templates, whether it be surveys, things like that. So we meet monthly to go over at least one topic. And we also provide Q&A at the end so that they are able to ask any questions that maybe have come up for them over the last month. Now, of course, they can always reach out to me, but the Q&A provides an environment where other people can bounce ideas off of maybe their questions and things like that. So we definitely want to make sure everybody stays trained in the system. And as best practices maybe become different or improved, we like to go over those as well. And then the last piece to our admins and dispatchers, staying, up to date and current in the system is also making sure they know when to send an alert. So I would say that's probably one of the other largest struggles that we, try to fight against with training is making sure they know when to send something. So weather is a really good example of this. So we do special weather training depending on the season. So it could be, severe weather season, hurricane season, winter weather as we go into the, winter months. But we do weather training very often to make sure that they know when to send an alert when it comes to a weather incident, because you might not always have to send something. It might be, a threat that's not imminent on the location right away. So we set up, certain weather criteria that really will notify them, that lets them know this is imminent and this is when you need to take action and send something. So I would say that's another struggle, is making sure they know when to send an alert or a notification when the time is needed.
Does that funnel back up to you and your team, or do you give some kind of autonomy there through that training to empower people to make those decisions on their own?
Yeah, every location knows their location better than I could personally say, being here in Texas. You know what I mean?
Right.
We really like to provide them the training needed to say, here, you know how to use the system, use your best discretion on, who you need to be sending this notification to, when you need to be sending it. They generally create their own groups as far as people they're sending notifications to. They know the people. I don't, so they create those groups, they create, all of their templates and things like that. All I can do is provide, the training.
Okay, very good. And I like something you mentioned earlier, which was you take this kind of ongoing approach to keeping people involved with learning how to use the notification system and the different tools that you have. It's like every month. It's not a set up and forget project.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we also test the system regularly. We have an operations center here in Texas, it's called our NAOC, our North American Operations Center. They test monthly the system because they're constantly using it. They test the system monthly. And then all of our other facilities, like the manufacturing plants, for example, in order to keep their access as an admin or as a dispatcher, they have to test the system once every 3 months. So that's something that we, track. That's something that we pull reports on that says, if you're not actively using it, then we're going to take your access, because, if you're not using the system at least once every 3 months, and that's probably pretty generous, us, to be honest, then how are you going to, be confident, like you were saying? Like, how are you going to be able to log on and act swiftly and send a notification accurately if you haven't seen it in, 12 weeks? So that is something that we definitely stay on top of, I think, with testing the system as well as the training.
Okay, very good. I made a note here. You mentioned something before that I was intrigued by. You said something about a level system for alerts. Can you dig into that a little bit more and give some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have level 1, 2, and 3 is generally the way that it's set up. So level 1 being the, I guess you could say, lowest and less severe level, and then level 3 being the highest. So for all of those main emergencies, like I said, fire, material release, things like that, they are grouped into level 1, 2, and 3 based on a criteria that's preset in our emergency preparedness plan. So all of those level 1, 2s, and 3s will follow the ERP, as we call it. So it's pretty much preset. It's pretty simple as far as that goes. Now, we have created templates for our admins and dispatchers that, have the level 1, 2, and 3 already there. So the criteria is pretty much listed. I'll give you an example for the level 1, 2, and 3 is like material release. A level 1 material release would be a small spill of a known substance. A level 2 would be a large spill of a known substance or a small spill of an unknown substance. So that's got kind of two parts. And then level 3 would be a large spill of an unknown substance. So that's how the level 1, 2s, and 3s work. So we created templates actually that follow the level 1, 2, and 3 that pretty much says, the level 2 is pretty much reworded to say there's been a large spill of, and then it'll just leave little brackets. So the admin just clicks on that and all they're filling in is that bracket that says, here's what the spill is, or here's where it is, here's the time. So they're filling in the information based on, the event currently, what's happening, but all of the other wording is already in there for them. It's already pre-populated and it already follows what the ERP states as a level 2, material release, for example. So that's how our level system works.
The designation of 1, 2, or 3, is that something you just use for planning purposes and internally for the administrators as they're thinking about this? Or does that also get communicated in the notification that goes to the people out in the field? So at a glance, they can see, oh yeah, this is a level 1. Maybe I don't have to be so worried about it as if I see a level 3, or is that not in the messaging itself?
Yeah, so good question. The templates are titled by the level 1, 2, and 3 so that the admin or dispatcher can quickly identify it. Level 1s will generally not even go to, I guess you could say, like upper level sort of management. Some management doesn't want to see anything till it's a level 3. Some want to see a level 2 or a level 3. So the wording of the template itself doesn't state, whether it's a level 1, 2, or 3. It will just have that criteria. And generally speaking, if you're receiving it, you're going to know when you read that it's, a fire that's, X big. Or you'll know, oh, that's a level 2. So some of our teams have preset making like top priority on the notification. I'm trying to think of how it's called. It's like you can set it to be a higher priority.
Right.
And so some of them will have higher priority for level 2s and 3s. And then their pre-populated group of people that receive that are going to be, the management that wants to see that, versus if it's a lower priority, they won't mark that as a high priority. And then the people receiving it might just be the security team that pretty much says, hey guys, this is going on. We're responding to it. But they won't really spread that news out until it's something that, the management says they want to see.
Got it. Okay. Well, if you think about it, what are you most proud of when it comes to your role and the work of the emergency management and business resilience team over at Toyota?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, life safety is extremely important. So I'm definitely proud that I get to have at least a little role in protecting our team members and, being able to be involved in that. But I would say that the best part comes sort of from a branch of that. That's, basically the ability to build trust within, Toyota and build trust with our team members that says, hey, we're here to protect you. We're here to, support you and be here for you. And I would say that, that's probably the most proud sort of thing that comes out of my role and what I do is making sure that people know that this is an environment where they're going to be protected and safe.
It's hard for people to perform if they don't feel like they're safe. So that is probably the most fundamentally important thing that you can do is make sure each and every day when people are on their way to work, at work, or about to leave work, that they are safe in doing so.
Absolutely. I mean, you have, the obvious impacts to Toyota as a company, which of course is a part of, my role, and I'm proud and happy to be involved in that and, glad that I can make a difference there. But like you said, when it comes down to the people, which is probably the part that I'm most proud of is being able to protect the people and making sure that they feel safe as well. that level of trust.
Absolutely. Well, we like to close out each episode by asking our guests to provide the listeners with a piece of advice or best practice that they can take back to their organizations. So in your mind, what can the audience do to improve their emergency response plan or safety culture overall?
Ooh, good question. I would say, and this is probably something we didn't talk about as much here, so this is a great place to put this, is like our operations center. So I would say in this conversation, I think it's pretty clear what, we like people to be self-sufficient on being able to notify and being well trained and all those sorts of things. But of course, we focused a lot on manufacturing, but we have other facilities as well that maybe don't have the bandwidth to have a trained team for mass communication like the manufacturing plants do, some of our smaller sites. So our NAOC, like I mentioned earlier, the North American Operations Center, they are a 24/7 group of team members that we have here at the HQ here in Plano that are trained on the, alert media mass communication system for any facility. So if anybody at any of our facilities needed to send a notification, they could call the NAOC and they could say, this is going on. And the NAOC is equipped and trained to be able to send a notification for any of our 50 facilities. So I would say that is something that I think is, special that we have and definitely a great resource, because it says that, if one person can't, or if this team can't, there's always a backup. We like to make sure that there's always going to be a route to get notifications out when it needs to be communicated. So I think that is probably the thing that I would definitely recommend having is, if it can't be a full-blown operations center, at least just having something there as a backup, as a 24/7 option that says, if your team can't, there's still going to be somebody there to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So make it easy enough for people to do it on their own, but if for some reason they can't, know who the backup team is and how to get in touch with them and Perfect.
100%. Yeah. The NAOC has a number that people can call. And then there's also a form that people can fill out if it's not as, like say pressing, I guess. There's also a NAOC request form that somebody can fill out that sends directly to the NAOC. And then, like I said, they're fully equipped they know how to, word everything and who to click and all the things for any of the 50 facilities that we have. So they're pretty impressive down there what they do. So
yeah. No, that's fantastic.
Being able to support us.
Yep. Excellent. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate your time, expertise, and advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. If anyone out there listening has follow-up questions or wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, my email is probably the best way to reach me. It's going to be Hannah, which is HANNAH.Kennett, which is KINNETT @toyota.com.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again for taking time to join us on the Employee Safety Podcast. And for the rest of you out there, remember, nothing ever goes 100% according to plan in an emergency. So communication is incredibly important. If you can't communicate, you can't recover. Until next time.
Alert Media is changing the way your leaders and response teams connect and communicate effectively when seconds matter. We provide our customers with a comprehensive solution for monitoring threats around the world and deploying fast, effective emergency communication. You need a panic-proof solution for high-stakes moments. In just a few clicks, your team can send a multi-channel notification to an impacted group of people and confirm their safety immediately. When employee safety is at stake, don't just communicate. Connect and confirm with a robust emergency communication solution. Visit alertmedia.com for more information. You've been listening to the Employee Safety Podcast. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast player. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, we'd love for you to give a quick rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.